Hello and welcome. My name is Fredrik Zillén and I'm a running technique specialist who has for many years worked exclusively with biomechanics and running technique for runners, from complete beginners to runners with national records and who have run in the World Championships and the Olympics. And this is my list of my top 3 myths about running technique. And here's the first one. You should land on the forefoot or midfoot. Heel strike is always bad. If heel strike is so bad, then how come Brigitte Koskei can land on her heel as clearly as she does in this picture and in this race, where she broke the world marathon record? And why is it that when World Athletics measured how runners landed in the 2017 London Marathon World Championships, only 3% of the men and 3% of the women put their forefoot down first at one of the measuring stations? Around 70% put their heel down first. 70. And this is what it looked like among the first 8 men at this World Championships. First, second, third and fourth place all landed on their heels at all 4 measuring stations. I'm certainly not saying that you should always land on your heel or that all good runners do that. For example, Eliud Kipchoge clearly lands on the forefoot. There are, of course, different places that are optimal to put your foot down in relation to your center of mass, depending on your pace. And what works best for the world's elite marathoners may not be the best for you. But don't tell me or any other runner that it's always best to land forefoot or midfoot, or that all good runners do, because that's certainly not the case. There were 3% of the runners who put their forefoot down first at the World Championships, and 70% who put their heel down first. And just look at Kenenisa Bekele here. On to the next entry on the list of some of the biggest myths about running technique. You should have the elbow joint at a 90-degree angle. I have no idea where this myth comes from. Let's look at what the angles look like in some really good runners. Do you see any 90-degree angles here? No? If we go back to the 2017 World Championships in London and look at the elbow angles of the top 8 women and top 8 men, we can see that they don't have 90 degrees in their elbows at all. The angle is sharper. And the same for the top 8 men and women in the 10,000 meter race. Of course, you can have the elbow joint at a 90-degree angle if you like it, but you shouldn't tell other runners that you should or must have a 90-degree angle, or that it is important for efficient running technique, because that's simply not true. It's a myth. So let's move on to the last of the most common myths about running technique in this video. That 180 steps per minute is some kind of optimal cadence. But of course, that's just a myth too. Let's go back to our favorite competition, the 2017 World Championships in London. Here's what the top 8 marathon runners in the championships looked like on lap 4 of 4. The top 8 women had a cadence of 165 to 198 steps per minute, while the men had 171.6 to 193.8 steps per minute. And it wasn't the case that one runner had the lowest cadence and one had the highest, and everyone else was clustered around 180 that is supposed to be optimal. They were evenly spread out between these 2 points. And then there's runners like Jim Walmsley, who is one of the very best ultra runners in the world, and he has a very low cadence. he's not even close to 180. It would also be wrong to say that a certain runner has a certain cadence. In a video I made earlier this year, I showed how much the cadence varied over the course of one single race. The men who came in first and second place at the World Championships at the 10,000 meters, Mo Farah and Joshua Cheptegei. Their cadence was measured every 5 laps, and as you can see here, the cadence varied a lot and it follows the pace. The faster they ran, the higher the cadence. And there was a difference of 27 steps per minute for both Mo Farah and Joshua Cheptegei between the laps with the highest and lowest cadence. So if someone says, Sir Mo has this cadence when he runs, you should immediately ask, at what pace? Or do you mean the average pace throughout the race? Because of course you can't say that Farah or Cheptegei has one specific cadence if it can vary 27 steps per minute for both of them during the same race. You can say that Farah has a lower cadence on average compared to Cheptegei, but you can't say a specific number. That's the full list of my top 3 myths about running technique. Hope you learned something and also instantly figured out which of your running friends to send a link to this video to. You know, that myth-spreading runner friend that you've got. And that's why I'm here, to spread knowledge to the running world. And if you want to know what really good running technique is, instead of, as here, finding out what is a myth, I recommend my online course. You can find all the information about that in the text below this video. Have a wonderful time and see you in another video.